If this determines how much you're going to enjoy this movie, and I got to tell you, you're watching the wrong movies. So, we're back. It's been a week. It's what happens when, you get busy. I've been very busy in the last, Saturday and Sunday was just no-goes, and I could easily make these videos in the midweek, but the problem is I want to make these as like a weekly, a summary of what happened that entire week, and it's really hard to do that when you film the video, halfway through and all the other cool stuff could happen over the weekend. So I couldn't find the time to do it last week, so we ended up taking a week off. We're back. I got a lot of things I got to talk about because I was going to do one last week. Obviously, it didn't happen. Right off the bat, got to talk about Suicide Squad. Got to talk about Suicide Squad. I mean, I went into this movie with zero expectations. And then I see, before I went and saw the movie, that Rotten Tomatoes gave it a good old 26%. I watched the movie. I don't know where the 26 is coming from. I really don't. There are a whole lot of things that I saw in that movie that made me go, okay, am I believing that this is some amazing, forthcoming of Jesus Christ kind of movie in terms of superhero movies? Absolutely fucking not. It wasn't anything close. Not even close. Was it shit? No, I don't believe it was shit. Was it certainly 26%? No. No. Nope. Not even close. Not even fucking close. I don't understand where this came from. I know a lot of this is the critic rating, and hell, you can even see, I don't know what it is right now. The last time I checked, it was a 26 on the critic rating, and I think the user rating was almost like 70%. So that tells you right away that maybe the wrong people were seeing these movies. And it's one of those things that I have to go back again and again and again and have to go, we really need to start having critics not go to movies like these, because that the critics that will always go to really artsy movies or the Oscar-winning films and talk about how everything was so good, like the plot, the characters, the acting, all that stuff, they'll talk about how everything was just impeccable and all this other bullshit, all these buzzwords they like to throw around. But at the end of the day, superhero movies are not meant to be artistic pieces of wonder. They're meant to be fucking fun blockbuster movies. And I think that's a problem that we're having with a lot of these critics when it comes to how they rate these movies. I think that they are not going into these things to have fun with them. They're going in them, judging them with the same intelligent mind that they like to do all the time when they do all these other reviews of all these other movies that have nothing remotely close to being on the same spectrum as a lot of these other films. Superhero movies are in their own section. And a lot of these movies are very tailored to a more fun-loving, action-oriented crowd. I don't imagine that the same kind of people that thought The King's Speech or all these other bullshitly boring Oscar-winning films or Oscar-nominated films are remotely anywhere close to an Avengers, to a Batman vs. Superman, to a Suicide Squad, to any other movie that falls into this whole trend of superhero movies that we've gotten in the last 10 years. I don't know why that a lot of these people, and I've read some of these reviews, and they're fucking astonishing. I don't understand how these people cannot separate what is a artsy movie to a superhero movie. It seems like they can't figure out both sides. It's literally, they just see movie, so they assume that everything is packaged into one big thing. And I really just gotta say it. What happened to going to a movie and just fucking enjoying it? What happened to that? What happened to sitting down in a theater, paying your money, and just going, I just want to have a good time? Everybody that I have seen talk about all the things that they hate about the movie. Are there things that, you could easily pick at and be like, yeah, okay. Absolutely. There are a few things that Suicide Squad does that can be treated as, they didn't really exactly know what the fuck they were doing. And again, as we've seen with DC movies, large in part, they haven't known what the hell they've been doing for the last 5 years. So, but in the sense of the idea of, did I walk into that movie, did I sit down and watch that movie and think, by the end of it, did I have a good time? Absolutely. I loved it. I really did. There are a lot of people that agree with me in the sense of, I thought it was a fun movie. Am I going to sit back and tell you with a straight face that it was the most impeccably well done story, great characters, fantastic score, and all this other shit? Absolutely fucking not. And I think any smart, intelligent, and just fucking commonsensical person could sit back and tell you that. But again, 26% on Rotten Tomatoes pretty much means that that movie is not only garbage, but scum. And I did not get that sense. Now, could it just be a matter of a lot of these people, especially because it's a critic rating? Is it just people with different eyes than most of us, casual watchers that are just going in looking for a good time? Of course. But there are so many, the fact that people take this seriously, it's the same argument that I had with Metacritic. I don't understand why people take these ratings seriously, because the majority of these ratings have nothing to do with their kind of rating system. And even when you go to the user score is just as toxic because it's basically 10s and 1s. But when it comes to the critic scores, a lot of the time it is people that play these things like it's a profession. They play games as a profession, or they watch films as a profession. So they have had the training and the years of experience to know what to look for. We, the average moviegoer or the average gamer, we don't care as much about that. We don't care about certain things like the frame rate issues. We don't care about, the little tiny side stories and whether they're worth something. Most of us go into a video game thinking, is it fun? Cool. We go into a movie thinking, is it fun? Cool. All this other crap, for the most part, a lot of us don't care that much about, but yet we will happily go onto a site like Rotten Tomatoes. We will happily go onto a site like Metacritic, and because a rating is suddenly that low, then the movie must not be watchable. And people are that fucking easy to convince nowadays. I don't know why, and I think that's stupid. If you wanted to go see the movie, a rating system should not tell you not to. If you really did want to see that movie, go and see it. And if you really wanted to see Suicide Squad, regardless of what people said about it, go and see it and judge by your own eyes. Instead of trusting all these people that will not have the same kind of tastes as you do, that will not have the same philosophies as you. So stop listening to that. I also want to go through about the things that people were saying about the movie. Now, the biggest one that I really had to kind of shut people down on a little bit, especially when we got out of the movie, some of my friends were like, man, can't believe Joker was not in there very much. Here's a secret. One character does not make a movie. You know who did make that movie? Will Smith, Margot Robbie. They made the movie interesting. Joker was not necessary. And if the entirety of this movie is hindered off of one person, if this determines how much you're going to enjoy this movie, and I gotta tell you, you're watching the wrong movies. Now, if this movie was a Batman-centered movie, and he was the main villain, and he spent 3 minutes in the movie, then fine. If this was a Joker-specific movie, I would understand. He is not the main villain in Suicide Squad. He is not a main character in Suicide Squad. I understand that we all have this major attachment to Joker as Batman fans because Joker is fucking awesome. We were not going to deny that. But I didn't go into Suicide Squad assuming that Joker was going to be the be-all, the end-all of that movie. I did not go into this movie and I did not leave this movie thinking that it was garbage because Joker was not in there as much as I would have personally liked. Did I want to see more of him? Absolutely. But at the same time, it didn't hurt my enjoyment of the movie because I still enjoyed what I got. Other things, such as Enchantress, and the fact that, the villain was kind of weak. Well, here's a secret again. This was not a Batman movie. This was not a Superman movie. This was not a Justice League movie. And if you were expecting some crazy-ass villain, take a look at the characters that the Suicide Squad are. Realistically, most of them are not that spectral power-based. It's not like crazy superpowers. You have Deadshot, who's basically just a marksman. You have Harley Quinn, who hits things with a baseball bat. You have Captain Boomerang, who throws a boomerang at things. You had Slipknot, who... never mind. You had Killer Croc, who's basically a giant, mutated powerhouse. You have... I'm just trying to think if I'm missing one other before I get to Diablo. I think that if there's one more I'm forgetting at this point already. But realistically, Diablo is the only character in that entire group that really had a actual superpower beyond something like that is almost like just superhuman. So you aren't exactly going to throw some crazy amazing villain in there that's going to just wreck shit, because the Suicide Squad would not stand a fucking chance. So if you were expecting something crazy, I don't know what you were looking for. And I mean, the thing is too, like, I got what I wanted out of Enchantress and whatever her brother was. I mean, it suffered from the same thing that I had with X-Men Apocalypse, where I don't think the villains had enough time just, you know, actually taking on the lead characters and beating the shit out of them in the first little bit. But at the same time, I wasn't that disappointed. I was sitting there thinking, look, that was an alright villain. They're saying it's garbage. I don't know where, like... Okay. I'm just going to finish with this because I'm already spending too much time on it. The problem with a lot of you people that watch this movie is I get the feeling that you overhyped it like a lot of people do with any other movie. It's the same thing with Batman vs. Superman. It was the same with X-Men Apocalypse. A lot of people went into these movies expecting the holy grail of superhero movies, and they didn't get it. So they got a little upset about it. I went into this movie thinking, if it's fun, sweet. If it's cool, sweet. If I laugh a few times, sweet. Batman vs. Superman, I went in with low expectations, and Fantastic Four, the new one, I went into low expectations, and guess what happened? I wasn't disappointed when both of them were very boring, bland, and I didn't really enjoy much of what was in it. Whereas with Suicide Squad, I went in again with low expectations because I understood that DC is not having a good track record. So I went in thinking, especially, you know, I was only slightly interested again because I heard that they reshot some of the scenes to make it funnier, to make it more enjoyable, to make it more fun. So, when I went in with these low expectations, guess what happens when the movie was actually, you know, I would say at best, it was good. I wouldn't say it was amazing, I wouldn't say it was great. It was good. So because I went in with low expectations, guess what happened? I wasn't disappointed, and it ended up being alright. It's the same with No Man's Sky, which is something I'm playing as well. You people need to stop overhyping everything. Stop assuming every game is going to be a 10 out of 10. Stop assuming every movie is going to be 5 stars. Come in with an open mind, and come in assuming that maybe, just maybe, it might not be exactly what you were hoping for. And I hope the people that when Star Citizen, if it ever comes out, I hope those people get the same idea too, because there's a lot behind that. And if you think it's going to be the most amazing thing in the world, guess what happens when it's only just great? Guess what happens when maybe it's just good? It's certainly not going to live up to those expectations, are they? So anyway, I'm going to quickly go over the Olympics for the main reason that I have not watched a single bit of it. I have seen highlights. I have seen maybe a medal announcements. I have not seen shit. Because here's the thing. And this happens with the Winter Olympics too. I don't know what it is, but I'm not ever interested in seeing how fast someone runs, how fast someone swims, how fast someone can row, how hard someone can throw a friggin' stick across a grassy yard thing, how high people can jump. Is it amazing to see records broken? Sure. Is it amazing to see some sports like baseball, tennis, soccer, if we go to the Winter Olympics, hockey? Yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's nothing really different. I mean, in the sense of the Western world, I think that we... Unless you're in, you know, America, where you guys seem to always win all the medals and, you know, it becomes a patriotic thing. But here in Canada, like, honestly, I remember, I think it was the London Olympics, where people were freaking the fuck out because Canada hadn't even won a medal in, like, the first 5-6 days. And I had to kind of... There were some of my friends that were kind of freaking out a little bit about it, too. And I said, guys, like, you do realize that this is the Summer Olympics. We are known for our winter sports and our winter success. Whereas there are countries like, I don't know, anything in South America, Africa, some of Europe, Asia, Australia, and all this other... They're more catered towards summer. So we might not be as good at running fast, at jumping high, jumping long, throwing certain things... may not be up our alley compared to things like, I don't know, snow sports like skiing, bobsled, hockey, and all this other stuff that we are able to do more than some other people. There's a reason why the Jamaican bobsled team was a big deal, because that is such an anomaly. In the case of the Summer Olympics so far, what I have seen, it's been mostly like finding like really funny things to notice. Like, of course, no offense, America, but are we really at all surprised that you guys won in shooting? The other thing, though, that I found that was really cool was the picture that came out of the beach volleyball between Germany and Egypt. Not because... I mean, here's the thing, and I saw an article because of this picture, too, that people were... They decided to get on the feminist bandwagon and start talking about, oh, it's so sexist that, you know, they have to allow, you know, the women to... Or, no, they make the women, you know, wear these really skimpy bikinis. And, well, now that the rules have kind of changed and they've allowed, you know, Egypt to come in and, let's see, wear whatever they want, like the hijab and the robe and all that, I mean... They don't have to anymore, and a lot of them still do it. And some of them have come out and said, we wear it because it's the least that gets in the way, and it allows us to move more. I mean, I'm sure it's a lot easier to wear a bikini while you're running and diving for volleyballs than it would be in a dress. There's probably a reason behind that. Now, obviously, are we saying that everyone should wear specifically that in the skimpiest tights? Of course not. I would not have a problem. And, like, there's been pictures where they've been wearing the bikinis, but they'll also have an undershirt underneath, so that way they're covering up a little bit more. I would not have a problem with anything. Like, if people wanted to wear shorts instead of bikini bottoms, who gives a fuck? I understand that people originally looked at it as being, oh, they were just trying to market the sport so guys would watch it more, and there's probably a bit of truth to that, because, let's be honest, most sports in the Olympics are not that watchable, so I guess it wouldn't be surprising that in a sport like beach volleyball that they would figure, well, a lot of these women are very thin, attractive, maybe underdress them just a little bit and people watch it more. Obviously sex sells, that's a thing, sure, makes sense. But again, if it really was to the point that they were making, like the rules were saying you had to wear only this much, then okay, understood. Now that it seems like that's not a thing anymore, you might want to rethink your issue on that, because clearly there's the option now, and a lot of people are still choosing to wear this thing that you think is very misogynistic and very sexist and whatever else. So, pick your battles, I guess. Alright, but other than that, like, honestly, the Summer Olympics have never been my thing, personally. I guess it's just because a lot of summer sports have never been my thing. Like, I'm not too big into soccer. I'm not too big into rugby or tennis or all this other stuff, or basketball I'm very hit and miss on. I'm usually only paying attention to the NBA when it's playoff time, and even then it's hit and miss. So really that left baseball, and baseball I haven't really paid much attention to, even though the Jays are doing really well. You know, I've been really into that idea, but at the same time I'm not religiously watching it. And honestly, like, I mean, I'll see highlights. Like, if somebody breaks a world record in swimming or something, like I'll watch that just to see how quick it was. Like, that's cool. Or if somebody does something really cool, like in the trampolines. Like, I remember when Rosie McLennan won the last time, and that was a huge deal. And, of course, I watched that. Like, if it's specific to Canada, I might take a look at it, but most times I don't, because a lot of summer events are boring. Like, it's literally just running in circles and throwing stuff. Like, to me, it's not that interesting. The same goes for the Winter Olympics, too. Like, I can only watch so much before I'm like, okay, how, like, especially because they have all the heats and they keep doing the same thing. It's like, I can't understand someone who watches, like, say, the slalom stuff, where it's this, or the moguls, where it's the same thing, where it's the guy taking the same path and doing the same stuff, just 0.2 seconds faster or slower. After about the fifth time, it's like, okay, what's this person going to do? It's just like, one of my friends was telling me the other day, like, they really love watching bobsledding when that comes on. And I'm like, really? Like, you're not watching the bobsleigh most of the time. You're watching the timer at that point, because it almost looks the exact frickin' same. But alas. The last thing I wanted to get into, this is just more of a personal fun thing that I got to do. Way back in February, when it was my birthday, my girlfriend happened to surprise me with tickets to a concert featuring 4 bands, and 2 of them that I have been so into for so much of a big part of my life. Alter Bridge and Breaking Benjamin. Saint Asonia, who was really funny to me, because after about the second song, I started really listening to the singer, and I laughed and looked at my girlfriend and said, "Man, when did 3 Days Grace get in here?" And then I stopped and went, "Okay, Wikipedia, shit, it is the guy from 3 Days Grace." So it turns out it's and I hadn't heard of these guys before, but they are a band consisting of, you know, they're basically a supergroup of guys from various bands. And right after I discovered that the lead singer of this band was the lead singer of 3 Days Grace, they suddenly played Just Like You, and then followed with I Hate Everything About You, which was so cool to think of, you know, when I'm trying to think how old I would have been, like if it was 18, like somewhere around like 16, 18 somewhat, and hearing that song again was like, man, like that's kind of crazy to hear that song now, especially from a different group. But the headliner was Disturbed, and we ended up leaving because, honestly, and I got a little bit of flack from this, but I don't care much for Disturbed. I think it's really one song, which is Down With The Sickness, and even then, like, if I had the choice, I was, like, thinking, okay, either I stick around, watch this band that I'm like, and then have this massive crowd to flood through on the way out and hopefully get a spot on the train, or I can leave after Breaking Benjamin, while everybody's getting their beers, getting their merch, and getting ready for Disturbed. I get to leave, there's no crowd, we get an easy spot on the train, and we're done. And that's kind of how we went with it. Now, Alter Bridge was the first of the two bands that I really wanted to see that came out, and they played a lot of stuff that I didn't expect they would play. They played Blackbird, which is probably my favorite song by them. If you haven't heard that song, like, that is the greatest mix it up, and that band is already so good. Miles Kennedy is a fantastic singer, and Mark Tremonti is such an amazing guitarist, and that song does everything when it comes to being nice and slow-paced, has a really kick-ass chorus, badass guitar solos, and Miles Kennedy, like I said, his vocal range is fucking unreal, and I'm so jealous of it. So that was amazing. But they also played Metalingus, and for those who may not know that song by name, if you are a wrestling fan, as you can tell by my Kevin Owens shirt, that was Edge's theme. You know, the last theme that he had. I did not expect him to play that. Obviously, they didn't play in the same format that the wrestling song, or the wrestling version of it went. But they played it, which was crazy to me. It was a fantastic set. Like, they played a lot of stuff. I don't even know if they played anything from Fortress. Like, I sat there and listened and went, did they play anything from the new album? Because if they did, it was like the one song that I didn't recognize. Because, you know, I don't listen to every song on every album and remember them, like, perfectly. Most albums, it's like, I'll remember about half of it. Like, probably about 6 to 8 songs I'll have stuck in my head, and those will be what I carry. So there's always, like, the odd one that happens that you're just like, which one was that on? Shit. But after that was Breaking Benjamin, and this was crazy for me. I don't see a lot of concerts. I'm not, like, it's mostly just the price tag. Like, to see concerts, it's expensive. Especially if you want to see, like, actually, pretty much all the time that I've gone to concerts, it's always been because there's been more than one act on that show that I want to see. The only shows that I've ever been to, and I can count on one hand, is I've been to an Iron Maiden Dream Theater show, and I've been to an Alter Bridge and Breaking Benjamin show. Those are the only two major ones that I've gone to. But there was one way back when, 13 years ago. 14, 15 years ago. It's been forever. And I went and saw Breaking Benjamin. And this would have been right around the time that So We Are Not Alone was becoming a big record. And this is almost directly right after Halo 2 when they got Blow Me Away in that video game. And I remember being like, I had no idea, because I remember when that game came out and I heard the backing track, there wasn't the lyrics, but it sounded so good and I wanted to know what that song was. And I somehow randomly found it online that not only was it a song with lyrics, but it was fucking Breaking Benjamin, which at that time was my favorite band. So it was so cool to go see them live right after that happened, because I figured it would be a sure thing that this song that everybody was hearing in this game now, they were totally going to play that live. And they didn't. And I remember being so disappointed at like 13, 14, 15. I can't remember how old I was. It was around that age range. But I remember being so sad that they didn't play that song. They played everything else, but just not that song. I was so disappointed. So I go into this show, and you're thinking, 15 years later, they've had, I'm trying to think, how many new records? 3 or 4? So they have at least 30 more songs that they could choose from. And that's not even counting the ones from the records before. And that's not even counting what they did. They did a whole section of covers. Like, they did the Imperial March from Star Wars and Nirvana and all these other songs, like, as a nice little, like, intermissional, you know, mid-set cool thing that they did. And they played other crazy good songs that I never expected them to play, like Ashes of Eden from the new record, which is a very soft song. They played a lot of the old stuff. But they actually played Blow Me Away. And the second I heard that choir-like intro to the song, I froze. I legitimately froze and just went, and I'm listening to it thinking, no way. And that first note hits, and my eyes just... 15 years. I was disappointed that they never played that song live, and I finally went and saw them again. 15 years later, they played that song. And to me, like, that was a moment, and this has been not the easiest year for me. So for that song to play, a song that I thought I would never hear live, was such a crazy, mixed emotional feeling that I had. And then they played songs like I Will Not Bow, which really, like, I almost started bawling because, like, that hit me so hard. Because, again, it's not been my best year. And to hear a song that I had been clamoring to hear for so long and finally get that, I almost felt like I was a kid again watching that first show in some dingy, stupid club in Toronto when we went there at noon thinking, oh, it must be some really early festival, like, and they're playing at that time. No, it was some stupid company that had all these, like, 30 indie bands that were coming in and playing all this. So we were there from noon till 10 o'clock to finally see Breaking Benjamin. Granted, I got to hear about a band like the X's, which I also thought were really fucking cool too. But man, like, that was frustrating as a kid to be like, holy crap, we gotta stay all this extra time to see this band. And the show was amazing, but I never got to hear that one song. And 15 years later, I finally got that. It was such an amazing feeling. And probably something I might never forget now, because honestly, the fact that it's been a week, it's been 6 days, but it'll be a week when this video comes out. And it literally feels like it was yesterday still. And I don't know how long it'll take before it sinks in that this was not yesterday anymore. So that was just something really cool. So with that, I think that's all I really gotta say. Is there anything else? No. I mean, I could get into a few other things, but I can always just put that on the articles. There's a Saturday morning rant for that stuff too. So, and I'm already at the 30-minute mark. Yep. So that's gonna do it. So to summarize, if you wanted to watch Suicide Squad, go fucking watch it. Don't be a shithead just because a bunch of critics said, oh, it was the worst movie ever. It's not even fucking close. I hated Batman vs. Superman. And if you like that movie, then Suicide Squad has to be up your alley. So there's the benchmark. The Summer Olympics, who gives a fuck? And then just awesome concert stuff that I got to go do. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at CSRadical, like me on Facebook at CSRadical, and of course, if you are not here from the blog page, you can also check me out at csradical.com, where I talk about various anime and video game related stuff, and yes, a lot of that includes boobs and butts, because that's just fun to talk about, let's be honest. Anyway, cheers guys, we will see you hopefully next week. I mean, I can't make any promises. That's why I said this wasn't going to be a weekly video, guaranteed. It's trying to be, but that's not necessarily true. So, later guys. See you whenever I see you.